Hey, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, depending on where you might be joining us from in the world today. My name is Meg Alexander. I am, as always, honored and excited to get to host another Power to Fly Chat and Learn virtual event. Now, as we dive in, before we get started with today's event, I just want to say hello and welcome to everybody who might just now be joining us. As we go through today's event, I just want to say welcome to everybody and encourage all y'all to participate in today's event. Now, before we go into a little bit more about what that might look like, I do just want to real quick flash our code of conduct on the screen for everybody. It looks real scary, but truly what it boils down to is just don't be a jerk, okay? As long as we operate from a place of kindness and respect, it's pretty hard to go wrong from there. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit further in depth today, but if you have any questions about this, you can always reach out to me. You can send me a message in the chat directly to me. You can also email our help desk inbox if you have further questions. That inbox is hi@powertofly.com. All right, now, very excited to introduce you to today's guest speaker. But before we do, we have a couple quick kind of housekeeping things for you. The biggest thing to know is participation. You are absolutely encouraged to ask questions if you would like. You're welcome to put those in the group chat. I'll have my eyes on that chat the entire time as we go. I also want to welcome and encourage everybody to share with us where you're joining us from. I always love seeing how far our global audience spreads. I'm coming to you from Toledo, Ohio. This is land that belonged to the Fox, Kickapoo, and Potawatomi tribes in my area. So if you would like to share where you're joining us from, or if you know whose land you're on, please feel free to. Now, as we go through today's event, like I said, please feel free to ask questions. If you want us to dive in deeper on a topic, acronyms, anything, please feel free. I'll have eyes in the chat as we go. And we're very, very excited to have all of you with us today. Now, I'm very excited to introduce you to our guest speaker. Erica Spradley is no stranger to the Power to Fly showcase and Power to Fly stage. We are so happy to welcome her back today. She is a global career management strategist and coach. Now, Erica is recognized by LinkedIn as a top interviewing voice as a career management strategist and coach dedicated to helping women advance with confidence. Now, Erica provides mentorship, guidance, and proven strategies that empower women to navigate workplace challenges, elevate their leadership, and advocate for their worth. With 10 plus years as a leader, entrepreneur, and coach, Erica has been featured on Forbes.com, BlackEnterprise.com, and Thrive Global. Her interview-focused approach has helped over 80% of clients secure desired roles, increase their salaries, and design clear paths to promotion. Erica also partners with ERGs and BRGs to support employers in developing and retaining women leaders. To explore her self-paced courses and free resources, go to confidentcareerwoman.com. Erica, I am so excited to welcome you to the stage again. What else would you like our audience members to know about you today?
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Meg. And hello, everyone. The only other thing that I would say I would add to that is I have been someone who just is committed to work-life balance for quite some time. So today's topic is timely, considering so many statistics are showing that employees across all levels of the organization are experiencing burnout. But in addition to that, we know that we have so many people who are seeking new roles. I actually did a LinkedIn poll within the last 30 days, and the results showed that 72% of those who responded are seeking employment. And just knowing that for my one-on-one coaching sessions, there's a level of burnout there as well, with the emotional tax, the resilience that's required in order to sustain employment. So I'm just really excited to talk about some of the things that have worked for me and my clients in today's conversation.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So, like I said, we've got a bunch of questions here on deck to get past Erica today. But if you have extra ones, if you want us to dive in deeper on anything, please feel free to shout out in the chat. I'll have eyes on that the entire time. All right. So, to get us started here, one of the first questions, obviously, we want to talk about self-advocacy. This can be a huge stumbling block for a lot of people. How, when we're talking about self-advocacy, how do you effectively advocate for yourself in the workplace, and what does that look like?
One of the ways I effectively advocate for myself in the workplace is to use a framework that's called ACE. And the A is for acknowledge reality. C is for connecting to the impact. And then E is executing the ask. So, depending on what I need to advocate for, that could be more resources, that could be a raise, that could be more support because I lack the capacity to do what I used to be able to do because more responsibilities have been added to my plate. I want to begin with having a conversation with my leader to just say, I understand that responsibilities have changed and I want to be able to perform work at a quality level. And here is my reality. I connect that then to the business impact with all of the competing priorities that I'm currently juggling. I recognize that this would compromise my ability to produce X. And then I execute the ask. As a result of this, I would love to have insert fill in the blank. So ACE is a framework that I use to advocate for myself in the workplace.
Like that. I very much like having the framework for it because personally, like I hate asking for anything. So I'm always starting from a place of like, you can say no and that's all right, but like I would really blah 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 blah. And that's just not, I mean, I'm digging a hole underneath myself as I try and stand up taller. Like makes zero sense.
Well, I'm glad you said that, Meg, because you bring up a great point. It is uncomfortable for individuals to ask sometimes at work. And so when we don't ask, what's the result or the impact of doing so? I like to tell people, let's start to do less of what isn't working and figure out how we can introduce tools, resources, strategies that will allow us to work better where we are. So even if you or someone else who's joining us is uncomfortable asking, how can we role play with somebody else who's a little more comfortable so we can begin to exercise that muscle? Because what you don't want is exhaustion and burnout for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And it always, granted, personally, it always feels like, oh, well, it's fine. Just this once. It's fine. I can, take on this extra thing or whatever. But it's never just that once, is it? Right? It's, small things that either become patterns or, just kind of that slippery slope of like, do it, it'll be fine.
Yeah, because we talk ourselves into doing more on a very regular basis.
Yeah, of course. All right. Now let's say, just for the plot, that you have a micromanaging leader. Clearly, no one's ever dealt with this before. But if you have one of those, how can you self-advocate? It can be very, very difficult to tell someone what you need when they're not real familiar with what your job is. But when they are intimately familiar with what they think your job is, what do you do then?
Since I'm being recorded, I'll say this is what you should do. One of the things that I recommend, because what I found in full transparency, Meg, is if you have a micromanager, there's a reason why they are micromanaging. Do they need more awareness into what it is you do? Is there additional accountability that they feel needs to enter the equation? What you want to do is try to have a delicate balance between giving the leader what it is they need in terms of awareness without losing your sense of independence. That could be something as simple as having a follow up conversation to say, I know that you're interested in better understanding or getting results or progress updates about insert responsibility. What are your thoughts around me giving you interval check ins every week or every 2 weeks, whatever the cadence is, so that I can make sure that you have the information you need? That, in essence, is giving you the ability to create a mutual win. I can still work at my pace, not lose my independence, but also give my leader what it is they need.
I like that. I think that's kind of a good medium between like, hey, this isn't working. What do we do now?
Yes.
And no, I just want to do it my way. Why can't we just do it my way? Let's be real. The second one is vastly preferable for most of us. However,
Yes.
yeah, if you can't do it exactly the way you want, then yeah, that sounds like a really good way to set it up. Like, hey, I see this isn't working. Here is my proposal. I think this will work because blah 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 reasons.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's really good. Have you had to implement one of these before with a micromanaging leader?
I have not. And I think a part of it is because one of the things that I enjoy doing, because I'm a strategic thinker, even as someone who is occupying a new seat, a new employee, if you will, I show up with a 30, 60, 90-day strategy. So I have an idea of what I could potentially do to hit the ground running, but I also have a conversation with my leader that says, okay, what are your expectations? Let's level set. And then we continue the conversation and make adjustments. So my leader from the very beginning has a level of awareness around my commitment to being successful in this role, but also saying subtly, if I don't know what to do or I'm not sure, I will initiate the conversation instead of waiting for my leader to initiate it.
I think that is very, very good advice and also kind of goes hand in hand with like flex those muscles because if it's uncomfortable, that's all right. It's because we're just not used to doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's very, very good advice. We're getting some excellent questions in from the chat. I'm
Okay.
grabbing all of these. We will ask them. We're going to hit areas of discussion today that'll make sense with some of these. So if we're not asking your question right away, that is why. But thank you for sending those in, y'all.
Yes.
Okay. Let's talk about what happens when you do the hard thing, right? You come up with a way to self-advocate, you make your pitch, and you get no. Where does the conversation go from there?
Well, I've seen this, go a couple of ways. And there are some instances where individuals will say, after I get my no, I am not going to have another conversation around this because we're talking about self advocacy. I would encourage you to follow up even after the no, especially if you don't have specifics to understand how we arrived at the no and how we can potentially course correct. So, for example, if I know that John just left the team and John's responsibilities are going to slide to me, and I just attempted to advocate for myself. To basically say, if I do all of these things, it's going to compromise the quality of my work and my output. How can we manage this differently? And they're going, well, Erica, there isn't anything else we can do. We're just short staffed. To be able to say, well, I would love to have additional conversation around aligning with priorities. And then once I'm able to make progress in certain areas, we can then add additional scope to this work. Advocacy, a lot of times when you receive a no, isn't the end all be all. Ask yourself, depending on the situation, is there a way that I can continue the conversation by saying, can you tell me how you arrived at this response or at this outcome so that I can have clarity on the next steps for me? Because sometimes the advocacy isn't about scope of work, it's about career advancement. And so if it's a no, I can't get the promotion now, no, I can't get the raise now, then I'm curious to know what steps we can take for me to be able to advance my career. I understand the current situation isn't going to be a viable one for me, but I am open to how I can continue to grow with the company.
I love this. I love this because not only are you're speaking business, right? You're
Mhm.
speaking the business lingo, but you're also saying, okay, here is all of the work and all of the thought and all of the effort that I have put into
Yes.
why I think I deserve this thing or why I need this support or whatever. You're telling me no. What is your counter offer?
Yes.
That's all it is. It's a conversation. And negotiations get scary. Nobody likes to think about negotiations, but truly you are doing offer, counter offer. That is it. That's the dance we're doing here. I like this. I like this a lot.
Yes.
Have you been surprised by the answers you've got when you've kind of when you've like sort of put it back in their court?
No, I haven't been surprised. At this stage of the game, there's only one of two ways it can go. I encourage individuals to not sit on their ask because, one, when you do ask, it's advocating that muscle, like we've talked about, but also you're getting data, you're getting information, you're getting clarity. And so when I go to ask for something, there's a 50-50 chance I'm going to get a yes or a no. And either way, I have additional information that can benefit me in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. And I also very much appreciate the why ask at the end of it, not in a like, why can't I have the toy I want? Like, that's not how we're approaching this, right? We're approaching this from a perspective of like, okay, I just laid out my 18-point plan, and you're like, no. Okay, why? What is underpinning this? And it's very much kind of the same energy as, like, hey, you're not getting the promotion this year. Okay, what can I do to make myself the person that gets it next year? Okay,
Yes.
what is the biggest reason why you can't say no today?
Yes.
Yeah,
Asking
I
those
like this.
follow-up questions will make a big difference. I have seen so many instances where individuals have the conversation, they go in to advocate, and then they walk away with a no or something less than they anticipated, and they just leave it. And a lot of times when that happens, they leave the organization.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's a lot of people who have made similar choices. I absolutely know I have left a conversation with a manager that ended with no and thought,
Mhm.
okay, well, then that's basically it for me at this company. Like, where am I supposed to go from here kind of thing. So yeah, I very much appreciate this. Um, okay, let's talk about confidence building. Um, I think I know for sure some people are among friends in this description, but if you are coming after a layoff or even just like a really difficult year, it can be incredibly hard to rebuild confidence. If you are a person either trying to rebuild confidence or experiencing something that has increased your imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
how do you recommend people try and fight that? How can they try and rebuild that confidence after it's been shaken?
That's a good question. And imposter syndrome is something that comes up frequently. So I appreciate you bringing this to the forefront. One of the things I recommend when people start to experience a lot of hits along their career journey and imposter syndrome shows up is to first revisit when you initially started to feel like an imposter and why. From there, I recommend looking at fact over feeling. In so many of my coaching sessions, what I found, Meg, is that people who schedule conversations to combat imposter syndrome, they really don't have it. They go from being a subject matter expert to a new role in a new environment, and then they start to question their ability. Never mind the fact that they just got hired. So someone believes they can do the job, and apparently they've interviewed well. But that's one of the reasons why we want to separate fact from feeling when we're talking about imposter syndrome. From there, I would say rewind the tape. Review your accomplishments, review your accolades, remind yourself of all of the successes that it took for you to get here. And then I would also add, make sure that you have a level of support because in isolation, so many of us start to question our success and whether or not we're qualified to do a thing or if we have what it takes. So having those mentors, those sponsors, those allies, family members, friends who can support you and encourage you and remind you of your greatness. That's what I would say.
I like this.
Mhm.
We've got people in the background chiming in that they use affirmations to build and rebuild
Yes,
confidence. I love those.
yes,
If you're not an affirmations person, or if you are just like kind of hard to get into that vibe, Snoop Dogg has Doggyland and he has an affirmation song. And I hang out with a 3-year-old 4 days a week and we do the affirmation song. And I'm telling you, it is stupid how much better that thing makes me feel about myself. Family loves me so much. Like I get better each and every single day. Like it makes me feel good. And it's like
yeah,
silly little phrases, but I'm telling you, they're fabulous.
yeah. And who knew Snoop Dogg had affirmations? I always learn so much when I show up with the Power to Fly community. So thank you.
You're welcome. It's called Doggyland. It's absolutely
Yes.
fabulous. The affirmation song is my favorite. Please and thank you is my second favorite. Um, all right. So as we are kind of rebuilding our confidence, if we are, let's say you're among the people who job hunting doesn't ever take like 2 minutes, right? It's always a slog. Even if
Yeah.
you find a job in 36 seconds, it's still 36 seconds and you did not want to spend job hunting. So if you are somebody who has only been working part-time,
Mhm.
or has something in your background that you feel makes you somewhat less than, how can
Mhm.
you kind of regain the confidence if you are coming from a perspective of like, oh, I haven't had a job in so many years, or oh, I've only been working part-time, or oh, I've only been volunteering? How do you recommend people try and maybe change that mindset a little bit?
Yeah. Your skill set doesn't expire. The things that you leverage to produce your outcomes, your results, your accomplishments, your accolades, they're there for a reason. So leverage them as best as you can and try to move from looking at your status into functions of what you've actually done. And so, what I mean by that is if you were part time and in that role or in your background, you've analyzed information, really think critically and strategically about what analyzing information produced. Because if you did it in a part time role, you can do it in a full time role. Once you change that narrative and go from the status of your employment into the actual function and your contribution and what those results produce, it is very important for you to be able to articulate and communicate your value. You're going to have to do that on your resume. You're going to have to do that as well in the interview. I actually have an AI career coaching agent, and that's at ericagpt.com. And one of the things that people use it for is to create their power value statement. So, for anyone who needs some quick assistance to communicate their value, just enter the prompt, what is a power value statement? And power is spelled POWHER. And that will help you start to frame your accomplishments.
I like that. I like this a
Yeah,
lot. Okay. Now we did have one question. This one wasn't on our list to start with, but
that's okay.
Danny, who's one of our longtime Power to Fly people, chimed in. Do you have any recommendations for dealing with ADHD during a job hunt? I try to compartmentalize certain tasks on certain days for focus, but still end up all over the place like a squirrel on what I try to do that day. Danny, I see you. Okay. My LLC is Technicolor Glitter Squirrel Productions. Feel you on this one deeply. What would you tell someone like Danny?
I would tell someone like Danny that less is more. I actually coached a college student who has ADHD to help him find an internship. And we met 10 times. In the meeting, what I discovered about him is that it was very difficult for him to focus on many things. And so the reason we had so many conversations is because I only wanted to focus on one thing at a time with him and meet him where he was. So if you are someone who has ADHD and it's very hard for you to, even if you set time aside to say, I'm going to get these three things done today, be okay with getting the one thing done today and be okay with celebrating your progress. And if possible, Danny and anyone else who is experiencing this or knows someone who is, make sure that you have support. I always say that success is never a solo act. So, whether you are employed or looking for employment, there is just a level of support that we need. But as it pertains to someone having ADHD and not being able to move as fast or feel as productive as they would like to, I would say slow down before you speed up and then focus on one thing at a time and then go from there.
I like this advice a lot. It's something that I very much struggle to follow because I am very much like, well, I'm already behind. I need to do 87 things at Mach 3 because that's how I'm going to make up the time. And it's like, no, that's not how that works. That's not going to actually help you.
Yeah.
So I very much identify with this. Thank you for that advice.
Yes. And I'll say too, Meg, also give yourself some grace. A lot of times we are extremely critical of ourselves. We're very hard on ourselves. I had a commitment to get three of these things done and advance my search today, and it took me longer to revamp my resume than I thought I would. That's okay. You were able to make some updates, and those are updates that you wouldn't have had. We'll try again tomorrow and see what happens then, because you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs. The way you win the game is through your consistency.
Yes. And I think this is something that's really important to remember is that like I also have ADHD. I also have bipolar disorder. So consistency is something that is very difficult for me.
Yeah.
But for me, I have to try and be consistent with being nice to myself because I can
Mm,
do that a little bit more easily than I can be consistent in my effort. So I
yes.
try and continuously remind myself, like, it's not that I'm not playing with a full deck. I am. I have the same amount of hours in the day as anybody, but my
That's right.
neurons don't fire like other people's do.
Yes.
So instead of being mad at my brain for not doing the thing that it's supposed to be doing, which is, kind of just being mean to myself,
Yeah.
instead I'm like, okay, what did we get done today? This. Great. I look at my to-done list separate from my to-do list because
Oh,
the
that's
to-done
good.
is going to make you feel real good. My to-do list sometimes makes me feel bad, but to-dones make me feel good. So maybe
Oh, I
that'll help
love
for
that.
somebody.
to done list instead of the
Yeah,
to-do list. Whatever we focus on expands. So you're
yeah.
spot on, Meg. Thank you.
All right. Now, if somebody is looking for transition, right? It's let's say that they're trying to open up to new industries, or they want to try and, kind of pivot into a new area. How can someone best position themselves after they have many years of experience in a separate arena?
Yeah. So, one of the things that I recommend that people do is match their skill set to what's in demand where possible. They also want to make sure that they're leveraging transferable skills across industries. So sometimes we fall into this mindset of this is all that I've ever done. So this is where I'm going to continue to go. And that's okay. But when we see a market that's like the one that we have that's extremely tight, it's in your best interest to use AI if you are using AI to say, here are my last three job titles. Give me a list of roles that I qualify for right now. Once you get that list, decide which of those you're interested in, and then ask AI which industries are hiring for these roles of interest. So now you can start to spread your net a little bit wider and go across industries, but also maybe look at some different position titles that you qualify for that you haven't even considered.
I like this. I think that's a good one. I think I like the kind of like reset, take a step back, see like, all right, what are we doing here? Because I, unsurprisingly to anybody, if something isn't working, I sometimes will just charge even further. But like, no, if I just do it faster, it'll work. It'll be fine. It's like, no, no, let's take a step back. Let's
Yeah.
reassess. Let's, kind of get a little bit different vantage point on it. I think that's good. I think that's really good.
Thank you. And something else I'll add too, and this is one of the most common mistakes that I've seen people make throughout 2025 as I've coached individuals who are seeking employment. That is, they don't activate their network. Yes, you can apply for jobs. Yes, you can update the resume. Yes, you can secure the interview, but you also want to add people to your process as well. Those relationships are going to advance you in ways that just applying for roles will not. You want to make sure that when someone is looking for the next project manager role, that you are top of mind for them because you've had a touch base, because you've checked in, and because they are aware that you are actually looking.
I like that. Okay. Let's talk about job searching. We've got about 3 minutes left, so we're trying to
Yeah.
get through what we can.
Yeah.
What qualities or habits do you think make a candidate stand out in the hiring process? Obviously, this is a very large question.
Yes. And it's a difficult question in some ways because depending on how that job posting reads, how you stand out is going to vary based on your ability to align yourself with what the role entails. What I would say, just as a generic answer that could apply to everyone, is you want to make sure that number one, you have aligned yourself with what the role entails. I encourage my clients to dissect the job posting, read through it, get rid of all of the fluff, make two columns. On the left side, what are the employer responsibilities and requirements? On the right side, you want to add by everything that you've listed what your qualifications and results have been. So now you have a really quick visual around how you qualify for the role and what you could bring to the organization. If there are any gaps, that visual will reveal that to you as well. So now you can proactively think about what you will say should that come up in the interview. So number one, I would say alignment is very, very important. I mentioned earlier about the 30, 60, 90-day strategy. One of the ways you can stand out is to be able to talk through that. And it's literally one slide. I actually have it in my Get Hired course where people can say, here's what I commit to within the first 30 days, 60 days, and 90 days. Hiring managers and recruiters love that. And last
Yeah.
but certainly not least, I would say make sure that you are not underselling your abilities. You want to make sure that you are communicating your impact, your value, your accomplishments in a compelling way, and always ask questions. So it's that
Mhm.
mix of, yes, showing up with alignment, but demonstrating curiosity in a strategic way.
Yes. always, always, always have questions to ask. Make sure one
Yes.
of them is not Googleable. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Ask for like, what's your employee's favorite way that you celebrate them?
Yes.
What it like there are, and you can ask ChatGPT for a list of these questions, but like make sure one of the questions you're asking is something that can't be Google. Okay.
That's
It
right.
just looks better. I don't know. Okay, we've got like 30 seconds and we need to start wrapping up. But
Okay.
um, Erica, I just wanted to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend with us here. This has been really fabulous. If people only remember one thing from today's session, what do you want that one thing they take with them to be?
That one thing would be take care of yourself consistently, get the support that you need, and have fun along the way. I think in 2025, with all of the change that all of us have experienced, all of the balls that are in the air, sometimes it can be very, very difficult to take a step back and just do some things for ourselves and do things that we enjoy because of the weight of everything else that seems way more important. But if we're not taking care of ourselves, we can't give our attention to the other things that we say are important. So please take care of yourself. Make sure that everyone gets the support that they need right where they are and do something that you enjoy.
Yes. Oh, I love this. All right. I'm going to piggyback on what Erica said, y'all. Even if you are not a little treat person, listen to Meg. Okay. Give yourself the cookie, the gold star, the pat on the back, coffee drink. Maybe not Starbucks is all I'm saying. Okay. But truly give yourself that extra little like jolt because it is hard out here in these streets. It is not easy to be job seeking, especially this time of year. So be nice to yourself as much as you can, y'all, please. And I sincerely hope that we will see y'all back here sooner rather than later. Have a lovely
Yes.
time, y'all, and we will see y'all back here soon.
Thank you. Happy holidays.
Same to you.